Your homepage.
Well, Australians should be allowed to arm themselves to protect against the threat of terrorism. That's the call this morning from Senator David Leyonhjelm, and he joins me now. Senator, good morning to you.
Good morning.
You wouldn't be alone in thinking it.
No, I think quite a lot of people think along the same lines. We get into arguments about the details, of course, but I think the general idea of being responsible for your own safety and having the means to do it, it's pretty popular.
Let's talk detail. What sorts of things should people be able to arm themselves with?
Well, my argument is that pepper, mace and personal tasers, which are non-lethal, should not be prohibited, should not be restricted. So you should need a licence, you should be able to carry that for your self-defence pretty much without any restrictions. The lethal means of self-defence, which are guns and so forth, obviously that should only be available to people who know how to use them. But off-duty police, for example, who do know how to use a gun, why shouldn't they be able to carry them and to protect themselves and their families and other people if the need arises?
Okay, have you spoken to anyone in Law and Order about the plan or what you'd like to see?
Yeah, this is not a new idea. This has been around a long time.
Yeah.
And yes, there's quite a lot of support for it. Obviously, there are people who hate guns, and they say, "Oh no, nobody should have guns."
No, just mean, have you spoken, with respect, have you spoken to anyone in Law and Order?
Oh yes. I mean, I know a number of police officers, and their attitude is, if you know how to use it, if you know how to use a gun, you should be able to use one to protect yourself, not just for anybody. And of course, non-lethal means of self-defence. You know, the police can't be everywhere, and they acknowledge that. The sensible ones, at least, they say, you know, it takes us 5, 10, 15 minutes even in the city to be there. By that stage, you know, you can have a lot of victims.
See, as good as the debate is, I think the police are going to beg to differ on this because your plan could see millions of Australians carrying potentially lethal weapons. And despite your good intentions, won't this make our streets perhaps not as safe as they are right now, but in fact more dangerous than what they are now?
That's the usual call that people respond with. The fact is, there are other countries in the world where this idea is not novel, where it's long-standing. The Czech Republic, for example, has a lower level of murders than Australia does, and yet you can get a permit to carry a pistol for self-defence as long as you're not a violent person, as long as you don't have a criminal record. You can carry a gun for self-defence in the Czech Republic, and it's a very safe country. It's safer than Australia. Switzerland, pretty much too. Although you have to prove that you're under some sort of threat.
So you do want guns on the streets? That people be able to carry guns on the streets?
Well, there are already guns on the streets. There are in New South Wales. For anyone to
be able to do it.
In New South Wales, there's 16,000 police on the streets carrying guns. There's Malcolm Turnbull's bodyguards carry guns.
Yeah, but just in terms of everyday people, you're saying that's okay?
Well, not everybody.
Wouldn't that lead to more problems on the streets? I mean, the cops we've spoken to this morning, right, they say tasers or any electronic item, and these are just the basic items, they're not considered legal to use, obviously. They are prohibited items that only police can carry. They require training, they require expertise, and even knives are a worry because they end up causing huge issue for police on the streets.
Well, you know, they can say you're entitled to an opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. The fact is, Australia is very unusual for having such a prohibitive attitude towards practical means of self-defence. Very few countries take such a pacifist approach. You know, hardly any country in the world where you are officially enforced to be a victim, whether you like it or not. And you look at those other countries, and there are, you know, dozens, hundreds of them, where we are allowed to carry something like a taser or a pepper spray or mace or something like that, or a knife, and protect yourself. You know, you don't get all this mayhem that people predict. So I don't see why Australia would be any worse.
I think it's an interesting debate. Can you name one police officer you've spoken to?
Well, even if I could remember names that well, it wouldn't be fair to name anybody.
All right. It's an interesting debate, David. Thanks for being